29棕櫚村 29 Palms 係位於美國加利福尼亞州聖貝納迪諾縣嘅一座城市。該市建於1987年11月23日，面積大約為 59.14 平方英里 153.2 平方公里。根據2010年美國人口普查，該市人口為25,048人。美國其中一個海軍陸戰隊基地就係位於29棕櫚村。喺1995年10月，即係克林頓就任美國總統嘅時期，一本美國愛國主義雜誌《新美國雜誌》New American Magazine 指出，當時一名美國海軍少校 Ernest Guy Cunningham 曾為咗完成一份蒙特雷海軍研究生學院嘅碩士學術研究項目，而向當時嘅海軍陸戰隊成員發出咗一份問卷調查。事後，該份調查普遍被稱為29棕櫚村問卷調查。而令事件極具爭議性嘅原因之一，就係問卷其中一個問題問及你會否同意向嗰啲拒絕或者抗拒交出美國政府所禁止嘅槍械嘅美國公民開槍。但係當時大部分嘅海軍陸戰隊成員都拒絕咁樣做，因為咁樣係違反美國憲法。美國海軍少校 Ernest Guy Cunningham 自幼係一位虔誠嘅基督徒，並且係一名忠實嘅美國憲法守護者。喺2009年4月19日，已經退休嘅佢喺一個美國愛國主義組織誓言守護者 Oath Keepers 嘅聚會中，公開分享當年做呢個問卷調查嘅經過。
Now we're going to talk to a former Navy Lieutenant Commander Guy Cunningham as a demonstration of a military man who kept his oath. Commander Cunningham, please come up.
Thank you. I thank God that I was born an American. I thank God that I was born an American when I was born in 1953. I thank God that I was born into a family of Christian parents who raised me walking, not just talking, as Christians. I thank God that I received a Christian education, that the public education system at that time was based on Christianity. I thank God that I was motivated, that when I was growing up, I studied the Magna Carta. I said studied, not just read. That by the graduation from the 6th grade, I could quote over 100 scriptures from the Bible. I thank God that I studied the Declaration of Independence, that I studied the Constitution of the United States and was well versed in it by the 10th grade before I graduated from high school. I thank God that I felt a yearning to volunteer to serve my Constitution and my country when called upon in 1972. And because of my Christian raising, because of my studies, that when I took the oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, I knew in my heart what I meant when I raised my hand and swore to it. I thank God that He blessed me with being able to become an Army Green Beret whose motto is freedom of the oppressed. I thank God that He blessed me to be able to become a Navy pilot. And I thank God that He blessed me that I was selected to go to the Naval Postgraduate School, wherein at this time, because of events that were taking place, I was motivated and blessed to write the thesis I wrote on peacekeeping and UN operational control, a study of their effect on unit cohesion, and the Combat Arms Survey at 29 Palms, where basically two questions I asked because I had a fear in my heart that in 1994, as I was taking a snapshot of the attitudes of United States Marines concerning operations other than war called peacekeeping, and because our President of the United States, less than 60 days after he took his first term inauguration swearing of the President's oath, William Jefferson Clinton, so there's no doubt in your mind, printed March 11th, 1993, USA Today, page 2, and I quote, "We cannot be so fixated on our desire to preserve the rights of ordinary Americans to legitimately own handguns and rifles that we can't think about reality. Excuse me, but the Supreme Court judge that issued that oath of office to him on March 12th should have stood up and called for his impeachment." In the fall of 1993, with an article written by Pat Buchanan in the Conservative Chronicle, he wrote about President Clinton's coming to enact Presidential Decision Directive 13, which later did become enacted in May of 1994 as Presidential Decision Directive 25, which gave the President of the United States as Commander-in-Chief the authority to place, listen real careful now, to place the servitude of armed forces personnel under the auspices, the command and control of the United Nations, and specifically under the operational field control and command of UN-appointed foreign officers and non-commissioned officers. Also, in the fall of 1993, was the bringing together and the drafting of the Clintons' assault weapons ban, which was enacted in May of 1994. Constitution, Second Amendment. 15 years later, now folks are learning what was really behind Guy Cunningham, and he was not a Clinton plant. He was not someone that you could not trust. He was truly an oath keeper. Therefore, I wrote that thesis based on unit cohesion, and I wanted to find out just what was the attitude of those Marines, and I'll boil it down as I close out on 2 questions. I took, when I swore in, I memorized the Article 1 of the Code of Conduct, the Eisenhower version, which read, and not today reads, because I took the gender-specific form, it's gender-neutral now, but I am an American fighting man. I serve in the forces which guard my country and our way of life. I am prepared to give my life in their defense. So, in preparing the survey, I took the liberty of changing that a little bit because of the times, because the Marines were being used. Somalia was occurring at the time in operations other than war or peacekeeping. And I asked the Marines to state, I would swear to the following code. I am a United Nations fighting person. I serve in the forces which maintain world peace and every nation's way of life. I am prepared to give my life in their defense. Presidential Decision Directive 25, if exercised, very clearly subverted the soldier's oath of office to the Constitution of the United States because it calls that individual to give servitude to the United Nations Charter and the United Nations itself. 23.66% of 300 male combat-trained Marines at 29 Palms, the home of the United States Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Training Center, said yes, they would swear to that code. 23.66%. And again, I remind you, the theme of my thesis was unit cohesion. So here we go. Now you've got more than a quarter of the folks in that unit who would swear to that code. Now, the last question that got so much attention is I set up the scenario because of the assault weapons ban and what President Clinton said in March 11th. I set up the following scenario. The government has banned the possession, the sale, the transfer, and transportation of all non-sporting firearms. I use that term because Josh Sugarman, who had created the term assault weapons, President Clinton had said, it's okay to be a hunter and use hunting weapons, but I use therefore non-sporting firearms. So the government has banned all that, and a 30-day amnesty period is provided for citizens to turn these firearms over to the local authorities. At the end of this amnesty period, several citizen groups form who refuse to turn their firearms over. Consider the following. I would fire on U.S. citizens who refuse or resist the confiscation of firearms banned by the U.S. government. Hell no! 26.34%, with 11% saying they had no opinion, said yes, they would. Ladies and gentlemen, I proved my hypothesis with this snapshot concerning unit cohesion and using the Marines, which everyone knows simplify, who are there, who really have historically lived out their oaths to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. That then and now, I was not only sad, but I was mad. And today I'm declaring to you, I'm a MAD. And this is what this stands for me personally. A-M-A-D. American Militia Against Despotism. Thank you for your time.